I am now sober. I have been sober for the past week, roughly, and I feel great. I feel amazing, actually. Fantastic. There is plenty of things that I am able to do now that I have not been able to do off the influence. Now, does that mean I am the ultimate sober machine and everything is so dandy and nothing is going to go wrong because I am the greatest now? And now I may not be a millionaire yet. I may not be this grand person that is capable of doing everything and anything, but I am one step closer. Because getting off of the marijuana, getting off of anything, whatever you're under the influence of, tells you that you are under control. You are under control of what's going in your mind. So if you want to take control of what's going in your mind, then you need to take control of your vices. Any vice that you have, any kind of inebriation that you're under, coffee, nicotine, literally anything, of course, weed. It's one of the most addictive subs. All of these substances are so addictive. All of these substances. Now, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you that you need to get off of them. I'm just going to sit here and tell you that there is more control to be had over your own life. In my life, I think I'm getting there. Obviously, I'm not a millionaire yet. Obviously, I haven't reached my goals yet. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do. There is many things that I am working towards. But here is where I take this book from David Goggins, Never Finished. And I'm going to read you an excerpt from this book that is pretty fucked up because all the pages fell out because the book manufacturer that I got it from did not make it correctly. Regardless, from page 233. Too many people mistake leadership for what happens at the top, in the spotlight, around that mythical table. When some of the most powerful leaders are hard at work in the shadows, they know that opportunities to make a difference in the lives of their neighbors, family, coworkers, and friends are ever present. They wield massive influence without having to say much, if anything at all. And the first step in becoming one of these unsung heroes is learning how to become a self-leader. Now, I understand. You may lead yourself. You may be under control of all of your vices. You may be under control of all of your finances. You may be under control. But are you really? Because if your best friend goes out there and, unalives himself, what are you going to say other than, I wish I could have done more? What are you going to do other than say, I wish I could have done this? Well, as much as you might be focused on yourself, as much as you might be focused on your path, your purpose, we have to remember our purpose is not aligned with just being a lone wolf. Humanity as a whole never made it this far by being lone wolves. There are no lone wolves in society, really. It's more like people that can portray themselves as a prodigy. And as much as we all want to be prodigies, none of us are special. I'm not special. I'm not special for getting off of weed. I'm not special for doing any of this stuff. You saw how emotional I was. I was feeling straight dread at that moment. But to me, what feels special to me is the fact that I'm able to go through that and not fold. I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to go to the smoke shop that's down the street selling Delta 8, whatever the fuck hot dog water's in their carts. I'm not doing that. I'm tired of it. It looks ridiculous. And that's my standard. It doesn't have to be your standard. But if your standard is keeping your friends, family, and everything that you love alive, then you must work. You can't be an inspiration without inspiring yourself. And if you want to inspire yourself, you're going to have to be present. And you can't be present if you're inebriated. I know the amount of brain fog, the amount of times I would zone out and live inside of my mind because of the weed. I was never able to live in the present. And if you live in the present, you're going to notice small things, small aneurysms that your friends, family do when they show they're uncomfortable, when they show they're upset about something, when they show that they need guidance. If your people need guidance, then it is up to you. It is up to you, not anybody else. No, not anybody else. Because as soon as you take responsibility, they take responsibility. As much as that sounds like, oh, he's just spitting out of his ass. No. Let me give you an example. Now, for the past 3.5 years, I've been working out consistently. Obviously, I'm not the buff guy that looks like he's on roids, but he's natural, and I'm not that guy. I am me, and I don't care what anybody says on the internet. I am me, and nobody's going to take that from me. So that is why I believe it is important to progress. Progress in any endeavor you're going through. Whether it's me making this YouTube video, I refuse to not progress in YouTube. I refuse not to progress in content creation because of the fact that we need more of this stuff. We need better influences. How many times am I going to be told that Keanu Reeves is such a good fucking influence when there is no goddamn interviews with him? He's such a shut off person. He's so shut out from the world that nobody knows if he's actually a good influence or not. Sure, there might be like 1 or 2 interviews. Hell, I might even go fact check myself. I'm going to go fact check myself right now. Alrighty, quick fact checking done. He only has around 4 podcasts that just talk about music. There is a small segment about mental health that lasts around 6-8 minutes. As much as we want to say we know what is good and bad, there are still people doing meth. There are still people doing heroin. There are still people driving under the influence. And there are still people doing crime. Now, why is that? Do you think it's just because those people are just born bad? All of a sudden they just broke bad and now they're Walter White, Heisenberg. They're going to go and, they're going to go and make millions of dollars selling meth to your kids. Do you think it just happens out of nowhere? Is that genuinely what you think? Is that genuinely what these people think? They're so sheltered that they couldn't fathom somebody being worse off than them. That's why you see so many people comparing each other to, this happened to me. I broke my leg. Oh, I broke my arm and leg at the same time. I don't even have both my legs. Bro, does it matter? Does it matter? Genuinely. What's the point? We all want to suffer more than the next guy. Why? Why? Why do you think that is? We all want to know that we can endure more. And do you know what comes with endurance? Experience. How can you say that you're a sturdy person without going through the trials and tribulations that would break you? Think about that. Genuinely, think about that. How are you going to be the person that steps up and is a pillar of the community if you're weak and brittle? If you can't battle your mind for 1 second, for 1 week, for a month, be sober. Genuinely, I could list off plenty of studies that would show that weed is going to impair your brain health. But does that matter for the person that's, oh, dude, I mean, I function perfectly fine, bro. I'm working my minimum wage job and I'm functioning perfectly fine, bro. I'm just living paycheck to paycheck. I'm saving $200 a month. Dude, it's gonna be totally fine. Bro, what happens if your mom goes to the hospital? What happens if a tire goes flat and you gotta call AAA? You know? And now let's say you have all the money in the world and you're so well off. And this kid, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about because he's just a kid and he got no money and he has no influence over me because I'm such a big boss and I'm going to smoke my weed because I like it. Brother, I don't care. And as much as I don't care that you're better off. What I do care is that you become a good influence for your people. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I was on weed, I was not a good influence. I was not a good influence for many people in my life, other than the fact that I was working out consistently. I would still fold under the pressure of smoking. And that in itself gives people a reason to lack respect because it gives people an excuse to not respect you. And now, as much as I, you know, want to be like, oh, I don't care about those people, I don't care about what you think, eventually, I'm going to want to move up in life. Eventually, you might want to move up in life. Eventually, you might want the respect of your own children. So if you're just some fat pothead, yeah, obviously you're not going to get respect, buddy. I don't care if you're a truck driver, making 100K every year and you're doing fine. I don't care. Because as soon as you want respect from the guy above you, as soon as you want respect from your peers, they're going to notice why you shouldn't be respected. They're going to know why you shouldn't be given some kind of, responsibility. Because of the fact that you can't fight your impulses, buddy. You can't fight your impulse to click off the video because this guy seems like he's a little annoying. You can't fight your impulse to try and learn from somebody that's younger than you. Now you might be having the impulse to stop because you're starting to notice, hey, I'm not as switched on as I was before. And that's fine. That's completely fine. You've noticed the problem and go fix it. Because as much as I was that kid, crying on the chair because, oh, I feel like the world's gonna end. It's not gonna end, bro. It's not gonna end. And every single day is a fucking struggle. So suck it the fuck up. It's not gonna end. It only ends when the man above decides for it to end. And he hasn't decided it yet. So before you get to the doors, you want to be in top physical shape. You want to be in best moral standard. You want to have the best moral standard. Because if nobody has the best moral standard, if nobody has moral standards, then who is going to have moral standards? We would all just be on drugs. We'd all just be under the influence of something because life's better that way. But people care about other people. And I care about my future. I care about my future children. I care about my grandchildren. I care about my great grandchildren. And I want those children to grow up in a place where they can decide for themselves. Not just be under the influence of their friends, not just be under the influence of, social media telling them it's good for you. We can't have that. Because we need these people to decide for themselves. And as a matter of fact, who can say you can decide for yourself? We obviously have the age of consent to what it is for a reason. Because there is some sort of thing going on in children's brains. They're developing. And when a child's brain is developing, everything that they intake visually, aromatically, audibly, and physically, everything they feel touch, obviously feel and touch the same thing. Everything they touch, everything they smell, everything they hear, everything they feel inside. So feel and touch are not the same thing. But everything they feel inside is going to dictate how they feel in the future. So if we don't take that seriously, then fuck your children and fuck my children. Because they're done for. If we don't take society seriously, we're done for. If we don't take the growing up portion of these children and instead we bombard them with the constant dopamine that's going on TikTok, then yeah, obviously we're going to make a generation of addicts. That's just how it's going to be. And who's going to capitalize on that? Not the children, not the people that are going through it. Because, well, they're the ones being capitalized on. If you want your child to be capitalized on, then yeah, keep on smoking, bro. Keep on smoking. If you have any sort of dream, and if your child has any sort of dream, then good luck. Because most of the inspiration is going to be diminished. I read a study once. The study stated that when they gave these rats just straight dopamine injections, dopamine that is able to turn into the dopamine that's in their brain, things like that. When they placed food in front of them, if their dopamine receptors were maxed out, they would not even eat the food. They would just starve to death. Why? Because of the fact that they were satisfied. They were already satisfied with what they had. Imagine being so so doped up that you don't even care if you die because you just feel so good right now. You just feel so good. It's the opposite of what I went through with withdrawal. With the withdrawal, I felt like I was going to die. With the weed, I felt like I was invincible. Do you understand the problem? Do you understand where the problem lies in that? You just have to be honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself is hard. I know. But if you care about your children, if you care about your future, if you care about the people around you, then you're going to change. You're going to change some things. Obviously, doesn't mean you're a fuck up. Because who cares what happened in the past? Right now is now. It's the present, buddy. And you have to do something now. Because tomorrow is coming. And it's not going to stop coming. Nothing's going to stop tomorrow from, the sunrise from coming up tomorrow. Nothing's going to stop it. This is real life. And as much as we want to keep playing fantasy games in our head, constantly smoking, doing all these things, trying DMT and shrooms and, the best experiences and lessons come from real life. Come from fucking up. Those are where the best lessons come from. So, yeah, I think we should all get off of our vices. Just to sit and stare at a wall for a bit. Just to completely understand, what do you want out of life? If you don't want children, fine. Cool. But if you also want to see your peers unhappy, then you'll be a bad influence. Because if you want your peers to be happy, you would be doing everything in your power to better yourself. Because I know when I started working out, when I started, trying to be a good influence on myself, I noticed I wasn't just being a good influence to myself, I was being a good influence to everybody else. When you start working out, people will take notice and they will feel the need to catch up. Because they know you're just a regular fucking guy. And that you are not special. And that they can do it too. All they need to do is to catch up. And then what? Imagine the thank you you're going to get when your friends are 30 years old, 35 years old. Thank you, man, for inspiring me back when I was 20 years old to get at it. For inspiring me to stop smoking because of the fact that you saw it was affecting me some way. You need to be that kind of an influence to your friends, to your family, and to your community. Because nobody's doing that shit nowadays. There's too many Keanu Reeveses nowadays. There's too many shut-ins who think they know best. When in reality, they have no experience in life, and they have no experience what it's like trying to get somebody off addiction, get somebody to better themselves. It's a challenge. And the first step is to do it yourself, to be the leader. I would not be making this video 4 years from now. The way that David Goggins' book says, most leaders are just quiet and shut in. I'm in this room every single day working on my shit and thinking, what can I do better? And obviously, I'm 21. There's still so much time for me, but I can't think of it that way, because if I think of it that way, then my progress is going to stagnate. And I don't like stagnation, man. That's just my standard. And if it's not your standard, that's fine. That is completely fine. We need people like that sometimes. But still, we also need good influences. And if you want to keep everybody and everything stable in your life, then you need to be a good influence. Then you need to be good. And just what good is, who knows? But as long as you're not harming people and you're making progress, you'll know you're doing good. You'll know when your friends are taking notice. You'll know. You'll know when you see the envious sides of them. You'll know. And then they're going to miss you. Then they're going to miss that person that they once knew. But at the same time, they're going to be inspired. And if you want to be that inspiration, then you need to get at it today. I appreciate you guys for watching. This was my take on how weed, affects my brain, your brain, everybody's brain. I think there's a lot to be learned from sobriety. There's a lot to be learned from the people around you when you are sober. Because when you're not sober, you're not present. Nowhere near present. When you're going through your day-to-day life depersonalized, you can't expect to win. That motherfucker that's going to race you in that 100-meter dash is sober to the bone, worked out yesterday and the day before, made sure he had 12 hours of rest, did everything he could so that he could win. You? Or that motherfucker that's, hit the blinker right before the race? You think he's gonna win? Nah. Could he make some good strides? Probably. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's always the one that's grinding that's going to win. And as much as, some people might not care about winners and losers, nobody wants to be a loser in reality. You just got to be honest with yourself. Well, this has been Vice Vestra, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll make sure I stay progressing.